Yeah, they will stand no chance. And that is not good for northern Nigeria. Do you understand that now? That is why it is not good for the north. Because they know that the moment Tinubu move them, he may decide to sell them to his own supposed parties. And that will make some of them poorer. They said Soludo did it. He actually said something like that. But that's not all. Let's go to the next one.
We don't view this as loss of power. A northerner was in power in the last 8 years, but I don't think the north was in power. A northerner was on the top of the government.
That's a highly political statement.
Yes, well, yes, but that you cannot say we are in power. North was not in power. I come from a village in Jigawa State, and in the last 20 years, very little has changed. Whatever changed was because of the effort of the state government, not the federal government. You can tell so many other towns in Nigeria, in northern Nigeria, that had not changed in any way, that had not experienced any federal patronage because the northerner was in government. We are brought up to see Nigeria as one entity, and not to discriminate against other sections of the country. That's why probably you will see a northerner as president, and he was more concerned in doing the second Niger bridge, while there is a Kano Meduguri road that has been there for 30 years and is still uncompleted. While there is a Kaduna.
Isn't it right for him to do that? Because the vast majority of the resources of this country come from oil, and which is in the southern part of the country. And you and I know that, of course, they also deserve some attention.
You are making my point. I'm saying that as president, he didn't see that as part of outside northern Nigeria.
So he was more nationalistic.
Exactly, and that's our own upbringing, all of us.
So are you saying that the southern presidents like President Tinubu are not very nationalistic like
I don't think this move had the President Tinubu's approval.
You think it's the hawks
I
around
think
him?
some government officials always believe that to keep their jobs, they need to please their bosses, right or wrongly. And then they embark on adventures like this transfer of sections of their establishments back to Lagos, thinking that the president would be happy because he came from Lagos. And I don't believe that he
That is what is called takia. Is accusing him that his action pointed to the fact that there is more to come. Okay. However, I don't believe that he knows about it. I don't think he approved it. That is called takia. That is where you know, Tinubu that is already like, when he now hear the part that says, I don't think he knows about it. I don't think he approves it. We just okay. Who has the number of that man? He said, we have his number, sir. Oh yeah, call him. Tell him that he should bring all his friends to Aso Rock tomorrow, so that I can tell them that I did not approve it. But it is for the better. You know what I mean? Like, so they were brought up to believe in one Nigeria. And then he said something to the underdevelopment of northern Nigeria. As well as the areas who have never really experienced development in the last 20 years in northern Nigeria. Do you see that gaslighting? He said, simply because that a northerner was president, did not mean that the North was in power. Takia. In Nigeria, it is a system that was designed, developed, and nurtured to rob Peter and pay Paul, rob Paul, pay Peter. And at the end of the day, the middleman is the richest. Nigeria supposedly has this imaginary over 200 million population. Do you even know where that emerged from? There is no scientific proof that Nigeria population is 200 million. But do you know where that emerged from? We were born into it. In fact, an average southerner believes that northern Nigeria, because it is so big when you add it to the middle belt part of Nigeria, they must be like the biggest in Nigeria, true. They did not probably remember or see through the politics of population in Nigeria. In Nigeria, population is not because of development. All over the world, where people plan for their people, they conduct a census to ascertain the people living in a particular area at a particular time so that government can plan for them. In Nigeria, they do not do census because they want to plan for your electricity, to plan for your hospitals, your schools, your good roads, your no. They do. Let me say they do population because of sharing formula. In northern Nigeria, there is nobody who has any scientific record that they have the population they always claim to have. But over the years, they have succeeded in pushing their numbers. It is like election in Nigeria, because the more you are, the more money you will collect from all the money they rigged from everywhere. And when it is time to share, they share according to population all over the world. All over the world. When you look at geography, population are recorded scientifically that northern part of a country, be due to so many reasons. It could be weather, it could be terrains, is more deserted, and the southern part of any country is more populated. But educated morons, educated wearies in Nigeria, they continue to tell us northern Nigeria, because it is bigger, is more populated than the southern Nigeria. Ask them to bring proof. They will tell you World Bank reports. Who did World Bank report to? It was all for sharing. And that is why today, northern Nigeria takes the chunkest, the largest share of Nigeria revenue from the federal government purse, the same cookie jar. And rather than them invest in their people, they turn this public fund into their private wealth. You have no idea that you are living in two countries, or you come from two countries, literally, right? That's what Nigeria is. A governor from northern Nigeria, Matawale, came on the national screen and he told everybody, and he said, despite the fact that there is a law that says all natural resources belong to the federal government of Nigeria, you cannot touch them without the approval of the federal government of Nigeria. This guy came out after the slaughtered farmers took over their farms, turned them into mining fields. He came on TV and he said they found gold. And you see all this gold, he was going to keep them for Zamfara people. He will send them to Dubai. He sent Zamfara gold to Dubai. Till today, ask a Zamfara, somebody from Zamfara, do you know the bank that is keeping your gold in Dubai? Ask those in federal government of Nigeria and say, how did Zamfara able to kind of extract gold, but what do you call it? Ogun State cannot extract our own crude oil and use it for our own development. Wahala go dey. Explanation go start. So the whole thing is fraud. Complete fraud. The money that they are getting every month from Abuja, guys, they even print money to share money to these guys. Out of 774 local government areas in Nigeria, when you add their middle belt that they always use politically for political postures, right? These guys alone have over 400 local government areas. Out of 109 senators, these guys have over 50 of that. Out of 360 House of Representative members, these guys alone have over 200. Simply because they are presumed to be bigger, most populated. So when they talk about overhead expenditures, recurrent expenditures, the money they spend on trying to maintain all these characters that occupy all these spaces, that add no value, no real value to anybody, north to south to east to west. When you put them together, the chunk of the money goes to the northern Nigeria. But this money is not invested in their people. How? They are not invested in education. They are not invested in, healthcare. They are not invested even in security, you will say. It was a free money. Just be governor. Once you become governor and get one or two aboki burudi change that will be helping you to convert the allocation of your state into any foreign currency before you launder the money, then you can enjoy it for the next 8 years. This is Nigeria. This is what Nigeria is. And as for this man, you cannot say because our man was there for 8 years and say then it's the northern Nigeria. It's about power and they are losing it. Somebody said the oil companies in Niger Delta. Can you even imagine that? Now Niger Delta get oil. The Igbos, now them get oil. Oil and gas. Now Yorubas get oil. Oil and gas. You know what I mean? But now, what do you call it? Now Nigeria owned the oil. However, the Niger Delta and the people who actually owns the oil, naturally, they said the place is not safe to avoid, the oil companies. So they moved them to Lagos. All of the oil companies in Nigeria, drilling oil in Niger Delta, all their staffs and their recruitment and everything, and where they pay their taxes and all of that, Lagos. So he said something so similar. He was like, okay, if that's the case, then they should move the Kiniko to. I was like, okay, yeah, let me enjoy that. Here, they're allowed to.
Then the North doesn't have the wherewithal to actually speak on this because there's a huge concentration of the military and its armament in the northern part of the country.
If you ask me, I would say maybe it is due to Kaduna centrality on this in Nigeria. If we have got a Papa port, we have Tinkan ports, we have other ports in Lagos, but that's because that's the natural area where they should be. There is a reason for that. And therefore, there are reasons for this congregation of military establishments in Kaduna. I think that's because Kaduna it occupies a central portion of this country, and military operations will be far easier to spread, to reach out to all parts of Nigeria from Kaduna than if they were in Lagos to reach Sokoto or Maiduguri, or if they are in Calabar to reach these distant places. So everything has a reason. I remember when this country actually had a concerted policy that if you place an industry in the south, you will try and place it in the north. If you remember the steel complexes, the airports, the hospitals, the
motor vehicle plants and all of
plants,
that.
yes.
Yeah, in the 70s.
They were actually, these are government well thought out policies in order to distribute resources to allow Nigerians access to prosperity. But they have been long abandoned and not pursued.
And you've made me to actually remember what late General Murtala Mohammed had said while he was instituting the Federal Capital Territory, which is Abuja and FCT. He has said in his maiden broadcast on the establishment of the Federal Capital Territory that Lagos will specifically serve as the economic capital of Nigeria, and that Kaduna, Port Harcourt, and Enugu will be developed alongside Lagos and Abuja to ensure that it deflects the powers within the country and not to allow the FCT to become a replica of Lagos, which they were running from, and for Lagos not to be left out because, of course, it's the economic capital. Now, the North has been in power for several years, and people are wondering why Northerners are not seeing this from a national perspective. They say that this point you're bringing against President Tinubu is from a narrow-centered perspective. How do you reply to such critics?
When I started talking, I said there were so many reasons why we feel the way we do feel this. Let me remind you, some years back, there was the issue of recapitalization of banks. Suddenly also it came up. And the North had 9 healthy, quite average-sized banks, but they were healthy. But the recapitalization wiped them out.
That was under former CBN Governor Charles Soludo.
Soludo's project wiped them out, and we ended up with not a single bank in the North. Well, and we know what a bank is.
The Bank of the North became the Unity Bank.
Yes.
And of course, majority of the shares were owned by Northerners and all of that, and then a few banks here and there.
Not anymore. I don't think now if you check it, you will find that.
Yeah, but these are economic decisions. And you have Northerners, wealthy Northerners. Banks are private-owned institutions. No, so why are the Northerners not opening more banks?
This was a government policy.
Yeah, for 25 billion naira as recapitalization.
Yes,
and of course, they are rich Northerners. How come the Northerners didn't want to go into
consideration that if you put that kind of policy, a whole sector of this country will be deprived of the banking system. But that's not even the problem. After that, after we lost 9 banks, then the central bank continued to prop up other banks that it has saved with the jointly owned resources of this country. So we lost our banks. The banks that remained were propped up with our own money, and we keep all the money in these banks. You try and go to get a loan from any of these banks and see how difficult it is. Meanwhile, all our money is in these banks. And okay, they put 1 or 2 Northerners, some on the board for window dressing. But it is a fact that we are deprived even to reach sources of loan in order to pursue legitimate.
Yeah, but when you say we are deprived, who is depriving you? Because I mean, since 1990s, then the North.
Hear that? It has turned to gaslighting. And that is why, please, if you are a Southerner watching me, I know these days now, everything is almost like God don't catch you. Even though this Sharia North suffering and smiling online bandits, social media adsmen, or Facebook adsmen, they are kind of those who make those who told you that they were going to make sure that a druggie, I remember asking those who are real Muslims, like, how do you feel as a Muslim going ahead to support somebody who is a drug dealer? And all the evidence, you ignore all of them. How do you feel inside you as a Muslim? Or is it because they brought in Shekau Shetima? So you believe Shekau Shetima is also a Muslim? Is that why you decided to support a druggie? Now, the druggie is coming back to probably not be what your leader said he told them it was going to be. And then somehow, you started telling all the people that rejected the drug baron, Pablo Escobar, you said they will cry for the next 8 years. But look at Labe Warolong. The African Wahala, Abe Rolong. There is a man that is always like, now I think there's actually this woman that used to say that long time ago. They said that if he comes back, he will come back dead. Now this guy is back, and the person that said, if you come back alive, just call me a bastard. By the time he came back alive, the man who made that threat was dead, and the woman was like, "Abe warolong." Can you see God? See this God when they do wonder. Sometimes he go just wonder you, and you'll be in bewilderment to the point whereby you begin to become a wanderer, kind of. People who told you that continue to cry, Muslim go happen. Muslim Umars, those who read the Quran, those who read the Hadith, those who know what it was about drug and all these crimes. We don't know what they promised them. So they said, those who said no to this, to avoid this aberration, they said they will cry for 8 years. About 8 months, 8 months, tears everywhere. But to you, Southerner, like I said earlier, I do not want you for any reason to be joyous. So, reminder long fun. You see, Tinubu will eventually not only teach this Sharia North about tribalism, ethnic bigotry, and all this supremacy nonsense. There is actually an ideal plan to restructure Nigeria to Tinubu's taste, and it is not in the interest of any part of the southern Nigeria. Do not begin to say, "Mo they chase clouds, mo they chase everything will be clouds." So you just need to know where things are at the moment, so that when the explosion go do boom, it won't be breaking news to you. Here is the part where Mr. said, this moving of fan to and all of that to Lagos, why not move this and that to so and so, to Kano, Onitsha, and all of that stuff? Listen.
If you talk about transferring FAAN to Lagos because there are more airline activities in Lagos than in Abuja, then you should take the Ministry of Commerce to Onitsha or Kano, because there is far more commercial activities in Onitsha and Kano than in Abuja. You should take the Ministry of Education or Agriculture to Makati, where there is a lot of agricultural activity and food production. You can distribute these ministries to locations according to the kind of activity you can identify. But that is not the intention or the reason or the purpose of establishing a federal capital territory. It's supposed to be in itself a symbol of unity, a symbol of togetherness of this country. The moment you start dismembering ministries back to Lagos, first you are establishing a precedence, which means next government it comes on and it doesn't happen to come from the south, will now return them or transfer others from Lagos back to Abuja, and it will
or maybe Kaduna
or Sokoto or Calabar or things like that. So the intention really is to make institutions symbolic of our unity, symbolic of the purpose of this country, and not to give reasons. If you say congestion, when you mention congestion in relation to cities, Anybody you talk about congestion will first think of Lagos before he thinks.
But well, the CBN is saying that it's building. The CBN headquarters here is supposed to actually house 3,000 employees, but it has over 4,000. And the CBN spends money sending its own staff to go to Lagos to spend 2 months, 3 months to do certain jobs, which normally should have been domiciled in Lagos, and that it's spending so much. So, for effectiveness, the CBN is saying that it wants to decongest its headquarters. And people are wondering, why is the ACF or why are northerners or northern leaders or elites actually having a problem with that?
First of all, the CBN building and the staff must have been in Abuja for nearly 30 years now. Yes. And we never heard about this until suddenly it came up. That's one. Two, we know that in Lagos, the banking supervision department is very strong. In Lagos already, it never moved to Abuja, so it could still do its function there. Three, at the age of technology now, you can work for a Chinese company in China while you sit here in Abuja and still perform your function. For CBN to say that it does not have that kind of upgrade in its own operations, so we think it's not true. If you
They just don't believe him. That's the point. You know, we just don't believe him. But did you hear where he said, if another person came, and that one can also move them back to Abuja? So, if another person comes again, that one can move them to Onitsha or back to Lagos. And back and forth like that, is why you should never invest your youth in believing that Nigeria is going to work. Do you understand? Because you cannot waste your youth. However, here is what he said about restructuring, just before we get to that. If somebody comes and decided to kind of do something that sort of bring Nigeria on track, at least, you know, something different, something practical. And everybody is like, well, everything is here, can you go? Everything is fine, you know. The moment he goes back to northern Nigeria, all of that gains can be reversed in months. All of that gains. Economy is improving. Electricity is improving. Oh, in fact, infrastructure seems to be getting better now. In fact, this is the leadership we have been talking about, Nigeria, blah, 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 blah. Oh, everything is fine now. Nigeria is no longer in debt. Obasanjo cancelled Nigeria debts. It was a milestone. Today, Nigeria is so indebted that Nigeria's revenue, almost 90% of their revenue, is going into servicing debts, which has now kept more people in poverty, little money for development. And they went on borrowing. And look at the rest of the country, sorrowing. But this guy said he's also ready for restructuring. And I was like, okay, I know it's Takia. I don't believe him. Just same way he's not believing now. Arewa is not believing Tinubu. Well, he said it. They are ready for restructuring, but it must be restructuring that all of them are ready for blah, 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 blah. Baba, meet Tinubu, trigger all of una. Somebody said that the Nigerian military bases, they are there. Nigeria security defense, this or that, they are in Kaduna. And they were there watching the people of southern Kaduna being slaughtered by Fulani terrorists. So why not take everything away from Kaduna and put them right there? So what is the usefulness of putting all of those in Kaduna when the people of Middle Belt, people of Jos, Benue, Taraba, people of Nasarawa, even Nasarawa, you know, all these places, people of Borno, Northeast, Northwest, North Central, they are not safe. Yet, they have all of the military structure and every other thing they need to. Rather, the terrorists invaded some of those military barracks in Kaduna. Military come pick race. You don't see where military they run from barrack before. At least if you are a soldier and there are people pursuing you, And where will you run to? It's not your barracks. Because you know that once you run into the barracks, those people pursuing you, their own has finished. Or more terrorists attack them in the barracks where they are in Kaduna several times. Soldiers, they jump fence. Killed as many people they will kill. Soldiers jumped fence. They bombed the armory, took all the weapons they could take. And they just like that, they went away. Under these criminals. Where you have all of the military chiefs from the north. All the military chiefs were from the north. They were buying properties all over the place while their people were being slaughtered. And if anybody, mostly from southern Nigeria, Buhari must go, Buhari must go, or you are the enemy of the north. Oh. People came together to stop Fulani terrorists. This guy said, coming together to even say you want to put together an army to fight Fulani terrorists is anti-north. This elite. Oh. So if you see all this cry about restructuring, I am kind of interested, but I don't believe them. It is Takia. Let it be on record.
The leadership in the north has shifted to a new generation like us that are less patient, that are in a hurry to see progress all over. We want to see peace and security. But we are also not afraid to discuss any issue. And therefore...
Including issues of state creation, including issues of state police, including issues of fiscal federalism.
Including
and all these issues mentioned, including by President Tinubu while he was in the opposition. So but you're not afraid of all these issues?
No. If you talk about restructuring, depending on who you are talking with, you talk to people of someone from South, he wants own and manage his own resource. If you talk to the Southwest, they want to federalism, they want to own all the VAT that they collect. If you talk to the Southeast, they want another state created, even though actually they neither have the space or the population to have that. But if you talk to us, now, what we want to do is to use what we have to get what we are looking for.
And what do you have that you're using to get what you're looking for?
We have over 70% of the land mass of Nigeria. We have over 60% of the population. So we are going to use our land mass and our population and our natural resources, especially solid minerals, to get to sit and talk about restructuring. The North should no longer be viewed as running away from restructuring. We are ready and able and willing to commence discussions on these issues.
You're a lawyer, former chairman of the body of benchers. There are calls for a new constitution. Would you not be willing to sit with other parts of the country to firm up a new constitution that works for everyone if there is a sovereign national conference?
I don't want to sit here and reveal all my strategy. I am the first speaker among the three of us running. So they will spy on me. So you will have a limited answer here today. Another day you can bring me back. But that's part of what I do.
That is what I have to say. He said, Northern Nigeria. This was him now, like, putting all of the people in the middle belt as Northerners. He was talking and he was confident. He was like twisting on his chair to say, listen, we will negotiate with, we are not afraid of restructuring. We have the 60% of the land mass of Nigeria. No, you don't. We have, how many percentage did he say they have of the population? No, you are not the biggest of the population or region in Nigeria. No, you are not. So what happened is that when we talk about restructuring, it also includes the people in these areas, the owners of the middle belt. You see that yellow area? Those are the Hausa lands before Fulani Uthman Danfodio invasion. Those lands still belong to the Hausas, but they are controlled by Fulanis. Now you see the area in blue. That is the biggest part of Nigeria that they haven't told you when they talk about northern Nigeria. Even despite the fact that they did their best to draw a malicious border between people, and they call them states. The people know themselves. They speak similar languages. They have similar cultures and traditions, way of life, and the rest of that. This is the true and real map of Nigeria. The people who owns the lands that is called Nigeria. So that man was talking rubbish when he was putting all of those people together as northerners. Hausa Fulani. No, they are not. Those people have identities. And Nigeria, they take all their identities away. Yima. I have a brother here, Yima Gudu. I also have a sister as well, Celia. These two Templars of the Temple of Truth here, they are Middle Beltans. They are not Northerners. So people like Dalatu will not represent them wherever the discussion for restructuring is going to take place. Do you know that? The North is not going to represent them. Arewa will represent Arewa. The Middle Beltans. The Kwararafas. They will represent themselves in that conversation on if they still want to live together as part of a Nigeria or not. Then he was wrong. He said the Igbos wanted another state. They do not have the space. They do not have the population. God damn it. These are people who actually have the landmass they are talking about are unoccupied lands mostly. Oh. These are lands that are mostly deserts. I kid you not. Go take a look at the Nigerian map from the satellites. Take a look at the desert that is more populated than, more greener southern Nigeria. Now this entitlement make that way they go say they start their own army. In a place where you are a minority, possibly should be non-existent. Nasarawa, Fulani want to provide security for the people of Nasarawa. Take a look at this. Do you see Fulani in any part of that place that you see there? Take a look at the middle where you will see the Gbagi people, the owners of Abuja. No be Northerners get Abuja, no be Fulani, no be Hausa get Abuja. Now Gbagi people get Abuja. Do you understand? But whatever happened inside that Abuja is considered that it must be for the North. More. Anybody who won't be the Abuja minister must be a Northerner. Have you not noticed that until Wike showed up, anyone will be Abuja minister must be a Northerner? You didn't pay attention. Okay. This is the entitlement I'm talking about. Oh, we have been killing people. Okay, you know what? We are now going to provide security for you to keep you safe in your homes, in your land. You were safe before we came. But fine. You are not safe anymore. We will protect you. The Fulani Yeti Ala army to come and protect us on our land. Entitlement. And I read it in the news that DSS arrested him. It's nothing major. Okay, so I'm not going to really talk about that. They've arrested their leader. So yeah, restructuring. If you say let's talk about restructuring, the real one where people would have actually be represented, a country with over 200 languages. Over 500 languages, over 200 ethnic nationalities. If Malta, that a lot of you are paying millions of naira to get their visa, to go and study there just because you want to japa and run away from Nigeria, escape from the hellhole, the shithole. Malta, the population of Malta is now up to 600,000. Not up to 600,000. The space they occupied on the map as a country, sovereign, independent country, right? They are not even nowhere, they are not big enough to the size of a single local government area in some part of Nigeria. So they are telling you that we are one north. We are one south. There is nothing called one north, one south. Nigeria is the conglomeration and forceful amalgamation of people who have nothing in common. Nothing. And when they say, what is the weapon fashioned against you? No weapon fashioned against me shall prosper. because I know the truth. Now, listen to this. So you they sing that one on Sunday. And then on Monday, you are a proud Nigerian. The weapon fashioned against you, you can't see? This forceful marriage that is not working, they know it. So if you want to talk about it, you would have to bring everybody on board and say, listen, let everybody come and speak their mind. Truthfully, and before you do that, you have to publicly burn that Decree 24 called 1999 Constitution. Burn it. Don't amend it anymore. It's a tattered, wretched book. Forced on you. So you get what I mean? If there's going to be one, it is not going to be the one that the Northern Nigeria have in mind. It is not the one that your forebearers told you. One North. There is nothing called one North. There is nothing called one Nigeria. Until everybody in the space called Nigeria today actually agreed to be the same in the same country. That has never happened. Until that happened, you have no right to go out there and say you are a proud Nigerian. You are a deceiver. Do not let your children inherit that from you. Please. Do not. Now, talking about a place that their legacy, the legacy of misrule, legacy of a worse bad governance and all of that, that has trapped a lot of people. And I'm talking about Nigerians. And in this regard, it doesn't even discriminate. It doesn't matter whichever side you belong to. Listen, there are people who did everything to stop and prevent these calamities befalling Nigeria today. But the fact that they did everything to stop it, and some of you encouraged it to this point, and everybody is feeling it, right? They themselves are not spared from the consequences of this misrule. Unfortunately, ask those who have been victims of kidnappings. And ask them if they ever wished for this. Even those of you who they jump up and down on your man debt, on your mad debt, you go die. Today, is this what you bargained for? It can't be what you bargained for. So even if you are thinking you probably have something as a compensation to compensate yourself, make yourself feel better, everybody should continue crying. You are crying too. The difference is that you can't do it in public because of shame. A year ago, you are everywhere. Strong-willed, strong-minded, attacking everybody. You are the strongest bigot. Today, a being power are for those who have thrown away the shame to say it out. That's the difference. Everyone can speak up now, right? So if they give a chance, by all means, a lot of people will make sure that this never happened. We're talking about those who got kidnapped yesterday. I am talking about the family that escaped, that paid ransom. They paid ransom to get those girls freed after killing one of them. Everybody would have to move on until another victim. But let's take a look at these people inside that same Abuja, sharing their own experience in the hands of the kidnappers who have taken over the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. While your criminal leaders are putting up different photo op, show off, and all of that stuff. Listen, I'm going to show you that, all right? From that same Abuja. And at this point, oh dear man, I said something yesterday. I said, about 10 years ago, no, sorry, about 8 years ago or thereabouts, a lot of you had phobia for people telling you that you need to get ready and prepare and defend yourself. In fact, the Yoruba elite, if you care for yourself, if you care for your life and that of your children, with the money you have, please pull your resources together and provide enough resources for those who are going to buy guns, weapons to defend Yoruba land and defend those your fancy houses, those your fancy lives that you have managed to get from that Nigeria, because one day you are either going to be killed and those properties will be burned down by these armed terrorists, or you would have to run away and abandon them. Yeah, a lot of you have run away from Nigeria today. You see, some people are watching my Ego's diary today because some truth eats them at the right time. Imagine somebody who is in his 50s, in his 60s, living in America, and And in the last, before Bokuwari, years before Bokuwari, they've built themselves this fancy, amazing country home in Nigeria. And they have been enjoying going back there to enjoy that comfort and quietness. Nigeria changed in 10 years like never before. A lot of them have run away from those properties now. So, when was the last time you were in Nigeria? I mean, I was in Nigeria in 2022. Oh, that was like almost 2 years ago. Yeah. So how far now, Baba? That your house, the way, that your beautiful house, where they village, where everybody, how far? Baba, I missed the house. So when you went there, how was it? Did you see the place? No, I didn't go there. I just stayed in a hotel in Lagos because I don't want to stress too much to, all this news about kidnappings and all of that. So I didn't bother to, because in fact, we didn't really have security in the house, and I just stayed in Lagos, me and the family, stylishly running away from that same thing. I'm gonna. I think we are having an issue with my screen. So take a look at this.
Make this one to where I release you back. You see them. You don't shoot two. You don't shoot two. The thing goes. And as you shoot.
Arisa, his daughter, and this man, his niece.
They are still there.
No, they killed them.
Killed them.
Killed them.
The barrister that owns this house.
No, the barrister is the tenant there.
Yes.
In this house.
Yes.
This other one too was the owner of the house. What his own 2 children, his own blood children that he has, and his niece. But the niece, they killed the niece too. Try the phone, then I'm busy the call. Now we before we inform the police and others came that
Have they been rescued since then?
No, the guy now, they've convinced the guy already. They called it, they should bring 100 million. I asked them, where can I get 100 million from? So before we said, they now sent a call that we should go and take our dead body.
They have killed him?
Yes, they have killed the boy. And remaining the girl there, stabbed him. So we were just even trying to prepare for the burial of the boy now to go take him to his village.
Push
back toilet.
Yes.
When she came there, see the now. 2 of his children, and this other one, two children. Even me now, I have one staff there, the girl.
Yes.
That is still in them. Yes. So we are trying to. They call, we talk. They call my security, my CSO. They talk to him. Sometimes they say we should bring. How much they say we should bring?
You should bring
and the
50
call is still
million.
going on until now.
Yeah, they say we should bring 50 million. So we are still pleading with them.
The police authorities and the security are aware of this?
Yes, they know. They know about it. They come.
The DPO always come here.
The DPO comes around.
Collect the numbers they used to call us, that if there's any way they can track the number, but since then there's no news.
The number that they are using to call you, is it the same number since then?
At times they call one number consequently.
That number will show
Meangwa
Papi. Yeah, true caller. But I don't think so. Is that there is somebody to kidnap? They don't carry his phone to be calling too. So we see Meangwa Papi too. Really pray that they should leave them. That's why we are praying every day. Don't have much things to say. My name is Henry.
Henry what?
Tiosha.
Henry.
Tiosha. Okay. My name. Okay, the hotel's. Okay, the hotel is GTC side. Sagwari layout. So on the 7th in the evening, around about 7:30, so I really got a call that wow, some bandits some kidnappers came around the residence and picked some of our neighbors. And I went there and they came to my own premises where I do my own business. And they took off two staff of mine. And I lose one of them. So we are still praying. There's one over there with them. The lady, every day we pray to God that God touch the mind, the hearts of them to leave them.
How many people did they kidnap?
They kidnapped 2 in my own premises. So generally like 10 people that kidnap in the community. So we'll now lose 3 of them. They killed the 3 of them one day. So now we are still having some members of like 7 of them over in their hands there.
Is it possible that they escaped through this road?
Yeah, they took back the road that they took to, back of the hill, so I'm saying. So that's the road they took back to where they came from.
Yes, at that time.
Yes, immediately we alert the securities. The response we saw, policemen came around, checked. Even some of the boys around the streets here still took touch to follow them over the hill. We were seeing the footsteps, but there's no weapon. So we don't have weapon to counter with people that hasn't a weapon in their hands. So that's how we left them.
Thank you. Did you hear that? Very sorry for that little break earlier. I don't know what happened. My system just overheated and the camera got switched off. So I'm glad that that has been fixed. I was talking about when Nnamdi Kanu told all of us to get ready to defend ourselves. A lot of you were like, I remember one woman at this Igbo Congress in America when Nnamdi Kanu was kind of telling everybody, like, as if